All right, so I'm often asked how to evaluate a note purchase. And really, when you're evaluating a note purchase, you have to look at it in a worst case scenario. So, in a worst case scenario, you're buying the note and then you end up with the real estate that you're taking over, and now you're the real estate owner and you're the landlord, right? That's the very first step. Make sure the deal works from that perspective. So, if the note is $5 million note and you're going to buy it for, say, $3 million, okay, in that perspective, you're going to say, all right, well, if I buy this note for $3 million, it takes me 90 days to kind of try and restructure it, work it through. All right, that doesn't work. I initiate foreclosure. It's going to be very dependent on what state you're in and what the foreclosure laws are. In Missouri, they're very easy to 21-day foreclosure after your postings, so you can get to the asset pretty quickly, right? So, but I want to look at what is my cost to get to that point, hold costs and legal fees and posting and all of that to get to that asset, and then evaluate what it takes to get to making that asset performing and getting it restructured, right? And I can look at the return on that standpoint. That's the worst case. The best part about buying a note is there's 10, 15, 20 ways to capitalize on it before you get to that scenario. If your goal is to get to the real estate, that's totally fine. But there are ways to capitalize along that route. But you want to always start in a worst case scenario and work backwards. You go to a best case scenario, maybe you work with the borrower so that they can just simply get it refinanced, and then you make the spread. You buy the note face is $5 million, you buy the note for $3 million, you got a $2 million gap there. If you can work with that borrower and get them to pay it off, and maybe you give them a little bit of a discount to pay it off, or so that they can bring an outside capital investor in and there's a premium for them, well, all right, maybe they pay it off at a $4.5 million amount, you waive that $500,000, but you make $1.5 million from that purchase by buying it at a discount and then getting it restructured. But you want to evaluate it as if it's in worst case scenario. From that perspective, you want to evaluate the loan documents to make sure that they are in good order, that title is clean, that all of the modifications and all the deed transfers and all the documentation along the line for that loan are in good order so that you can actually get to a foreclosable position or you can enforce the documents. You want to dig into the actual real estate related documents, the appraisal, the survey, the environmental, all the pieces associated with it as if you were buying an actual piece of real estate to make sure that if the documents are clean, you can actually get to the real estate and you want to be an owner of the real estate. Furthermore, you need to then understand, is it a personally guaranteed or corporately guaranteed loan, and what are the financial strength of the borrower to determine what amount of leverage that you can put on them to perform the way that you want them to perform to help get that deal moved in the direction that you want to. So that's kind of step 3. Many instances when we're buying notes, we're not typically looking at the personal guarantees more so than we're not looking to go after the personal guarantees. Typically, that's just not the route that I typically take. But more than anything, I want to know that the individual owners and the sponsors are going to be in our camp to help move this thing in the right direction. And if they have some personal liability to that deal, they're more likely to kind of help move the deal in the right direction if you help work with them. So that's one of the biggest routes. Evaluate the loan documents, evaluate the collateral documents, and then understand the personal guarantee side if that's a variable to really kind of know where you're going. And then evaluate what your exit strategy is going to be. Are you going to try and work with the borrower to get it refinanced? You're going to try and work with the borrower to get it maybe recapitalized? Are you going to work with the borrower, or are you going to actually try and just sell that note to another note investor and make a profit spread, just wholesale that deal off? Or is it your intention to get to the actual real estate and kind of work that route and come up with your strategy and game plan on how you're going to enact that?